Godzilla takes on his robotic doppelganger as we get introduced to one of the most famous Godzilla villains for the first time. It's Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, here on the Atomic Lizards podcast.
Hello and welcome to Atomic Lizards. We're a trio of friends podcasting about the Godzilla franchise and other films we love. I am Miranda, the film fanatic.
I'm Udi, the de facto film expert.
And I'm Dan, the Kaiju extraordinaire.
On today's episode of Kaiju Korner, we're covering Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla from 1974.
An Okinawan prophecy that foretells the destruction of Earth is seemingly fulfilled when Godzilla emerges to return to his destructive roots. Matters are further complicated when a second Godzilla emerges, revealing the doppelganger as a mechanical weapon.
Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla was directed by Jun Fukuda, with special effects by Toyoshi Nakano. It is the 14th film of the Godzilla franchise and the penultimate film of the Showa era. The film stars Masaki Daimon, Kazuya Aoyama, Goro Matsumi, and Akihiko Hirata, with Asao Zushi as Godzilla, Satoru Kazumi as both Anguirus and King Caesar, and Kazunari Mori as Mechagodzilla. The film marks the first appearances of both King Caesar and Mechagodzilla in the franchise.
Episode will have spoilers, so go watch it if you haven't yet. Now let's get started. What are your initial thoughts on this movie, Dan?
All right, I don't mind starting us off. Let me just say that I feel like this is a Showa-era classic. Mechagodzilla makes an excellent debut in this movie. Everything about this film just feels like a classic to me, from the music to the introduction of Mechagodzilla to the crazy Showa-era story of like aliens and prophecies. In my opinion, this movie represents the Showa era of Godzilla in all the right ways. Granted, that doesn't stop it from having some like flat out ridiculous or dumb moments, such as Godzilla turning himself into a magnet by repeatedly getting struck by lightning. What's up with that? I don't know. It's crazy Showa era science. But I found the ape aliens to be pretty fun. The antagonist gave off kind of like a 50s B-movie / evil cartoon villain vibe, but I mean that in a good way. Now, once again, I wouldn't consider these movies to be like legitimately good movies, but if you love all things Godzilla, or if you're able to get past the ridiculous nature of the Showa era, then I find this to be one of the better Showa era movies. It's tons of fun, and I did enjoy watching it. Mechagodzilla would go on to be one of Godzilla's most popular adversaries, and this movie definitely shows why. Hell, like just the idea of like having a robot doppelganger seems to be a popular thing in pop culture to begin with, and so it's like always been a fun idea. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. I had fun with it.
Now that you mention it, having robotic doppelgangers is a common theme in the media. I wonder if it started with this, or if that's just something everyone thinks about.
I just want to cut in real quickly. While I'm not entirely sure when the phenomenon started, this isn't the first kaiju movie to feature a robotic doppelganger. That actually belongs to King Kong Escapes with Mecha Kong. So Kong was the first kaiju to have a robotic doppelganger, surprisingly enough.
I did not know that came first. I was at Walmart digging through the $5 movie bin, as one does, and I got a 3-pack of like King Kong from 2005. King Kong versus Godzilla, and then that one, King Kong Escapes.
Yeah,
right?
King Kong Escapes. Yeah, well, that's cool.
But I did not know that came before this, so that's a fascinating fact.
It did, and it also features a monster that would appear in later Godzilla movies, Gorosaurus. He would appear in Destroy All Monsters. I think that's the only movie he's appeared in, though. So
Interesting.
Yep. Well, it was done by Toho, so makes sense.
Oh, I also didn't know that.
Yep.
We'll have to cover it one day.
So does that make Shadow the Hedgehog a kaiju mecha clone thing?
Not a robot. That would be Metal Sonic.
Oh, duh.
There's a Metal Sonic.
That's what I meant.
There
That's
is
what I meant.
a Metal Sonic, yes. Although, depending on what ending you get in the Shadow the Hedgehog video game, Shadow could be an android. So, there you go.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
Sorry, Miranda. Oh, go
What's
ahead.
the difference between an android and a cyborg? Because
Well, Cyborg is like half human, half robot. Android is like robot parts, but like the exterior looks like human, yeah, or natural. Kind of like how Mechagodzilla first appears in this movie, because he appears like looking like Godzilla, but all of his insides are like robotic. That's, in fact, I think they call him a cyborg at one point.
yeah,
or
that's
an
what I was
android.
just
Yeah.
checking my notes. They call him a cyborg. So
Oh, okay.
He doesn't technically count though, because like that was just kind of like a cover. It wasn't. It was kind of like the Terminator. The Terminator
Yeah.
isn't really a cyborg because he doesn't really have any mechanical, or he doesn't have like tissue, I guess.
Well,
Like
once
Cyborg
again-
from like Teen Titans is.
Yeah,
a
I was going to
cyborg.
say Cyborg from like DC Comics is like the perfect example. Sorry, didn't mean to
where
interrupt you.
do the people in Blade Runner fit into this conversation?
They're like androids.
Okay.
Yeah. Which, not to get completely off topic, but just to caveat, but technically speaking, according to Ridley Scott, I'm pretty sure Alien and Blade Runner take place in the same universe. So at least his movie does. But you could kind of allude to the fact that like the androids in like the Alien movies are maybe like a competitor to the ones from like the Blade Runner movies. So because they're made by
interesting.
Wayland Yutani.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's cool. I feel like we could talk more about this, but let's get back to our initial thoughts. Udi, what did you think about Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla?
Without like going too much into specifics or anything, I mean, it was fun. I've been looking forward to this one because I really like Mechagodzilla. That being said, it was almost kind of a little disappointing to me. I don't know. I just feel like maybe I thought there'd be more to it, but it did feel kind of just like another one of these. Like it was
Fair.
It was kind of samey.
It does feel kind of samey, and there's not as much as like pizzazz around Mechagodzilla as there is in other Mechagodzilla movies in this one, but it is his first appearance. So.
Yeah.
And we still got Terra Mechagodzilla after this. So
Okay.
hopefully you get a little more less samey stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I'm looking forward to future appearances by Mecha G. But yeah, this one was a little disappointing. It wasn't bad, and it was fun. You know, I just think at this point it's like they had kind of a formula. So a lot of the times they're maybe because also they got these out pretty quickly. Maybe it's also just the fact of like, oh shoot, we don't have that much time. We gotta go. So, I mean, I don't know. I can kind of forgive it. There were some really cool shots. I mean, maybe it's just because like I know that it's just guys in suits, but I always like the effort that they put in, at least here and there, to like make it seem like they're really big robots. So like random perspective shots, or like someone will fall, like one of the kaiju will fall, and then all of a sudden just like little houses like right in front of their head. It's like, oh, that's funny. I forgot kind of for a second because I know they're guys in suits, but I mean it's kind of cool though because. It's enough for me to kind of get lost in like, oh yeah, that's right. They're big guys. Yeah. This was fun. And yeah, just to not get into too many other specifics. I liked it enough. A little disappointed, but not bad. What about you, Miranda?
Yeah, so in classic me fashion, I'm just going to read you my letterbox review from the first time I watched this. So my thoughts is, why didn't anyone tell me that Mecha G has rainbow laser eye beams? I was really excited about that, still really am. Why don't they include that in his design in other things? Because I don't think it's in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, and it's not in the Monsterverse. So, like, where's the rainbow eye lasers? Space titanium, because always, that's a thing. It's always space metal, space titanium, space magic, just stick space on it. And it makes it cool, I guess. Or makes it sci-fi. I thought Mecha G's like sound design was interesting. In my letterbox notes, I also was like, why are there ape aliens? And I did comment on the fact that the day for night was not the best. It was really bad in this one. Like, really bad.
Wasn't good.
It was literally just daytime.
It's daytime with a blue filter on it. Like, the harshest shadows I've ever seen at night. Like, that's not possible. But, whatever. I accept it. It's a movie from the 70s, so. And I love the fact that there's so much chrome in this. Even though it's a past movie, chrome is the future. SpongeBob reference there. But chrome and like space are interconnected in my brain. It's like space aesthetic, I guess. So I liked seeing the chrome. Upon my rewatch, I felt pretty much similar to past me. But I did forget that King Caesar was in this one. I thought he showed up in a different movie for some reason, but yeah, I forgot he was in this one, but we'll talk more about him in a little bit. So those are my general thoughts. But let's dive in. So we are on the second to last film in the Showa era. It's exciting, so exciting. I can't believe we're almost done with Showa. Kind of crazy. But this movie gives us Mechagodzilla, who is, in my opinion, one of the best kaiju out of the group. So what did you guys think of this original Mechagodzilla? Like his costume, his abilities, how he was portrayed on screen, etc., etc.
Yeah, I also can't believe we're almost done with the Showa era series of movies. Like it's been a long ride, and yeah, we only got one movie left. That's crazy, and I cannot wait for us to get to the Heisei era because, as I've said many times here on this podcast, I love the Heisei era. It is without a doubt my favorite series of Godzilla movies. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We're here to talk about Mechagodzilla. Boy, do I love Showa Mechagodzilla. Like I said, he's just like such a great Godzilla villain because like the Showa era has always been engrossed in this kind of like crazy sci-fi universe, and you do got some movies that do take themselves a little more seriously, like the original 1954 film, and then you got other movies that can be a little more bombastic but still be really good, like Mothra versus Godzilla. But I think with the type of world that the Showa era likes to build itself around, Mechagodzilla he just fits right in. I love his like first reveal in the movie where you got like the music going and then you show his like arms like twirling around to show off all the robotics and whatnot. That's one of my favorite scenes from this movie. And yeah, I just think, like I said, I think it's a great debut, and I agree with Miranda. I would love to see the rainbow like laser beams come back, but to be fair, this version of Mechagodzilla is an alien. Other iterations of Mechagodzilla are not aliens, so maybe that's why they haven't done the cosmic rainbow stuff, but we'll see.
Even though other versions of Mechagodzilla aren't aliens, they are cyborgs, and we could just say it's a feature of his cyborgness because like in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, I think, spoilers I guess if this is correct, they like use the bones of the original Godzilla to create Mechagodzilla, and I guess they kind of do that in like the Monsterverse too, right?
Yeah, it's like that in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, but in the Monsterverse, they use Ghidorah. Like,
oh, right.
yeah.
Right. So then he's an alien.
Technically, yeah. I guess
we could have rainbow laser eyes.
We could. Well, because you see, the thing is, though, is that Mechagodzilla was still man-made, though, because like they did use Ghidorah to like work like the neural networks of that version of Mechagodzilla, but the actual like creature itself is still man-made. Granted, you could say that this version of Mechagodzilla was also made, but it was made by aliens, so who knows what crazy alien technology those ape people have.
Aliens, though, who could technically be from Earth if you want to combine this into the Planet of the Apes franchise.
I mean, yeah, but didn't they say they were from like the third black hole planet or something like that?
Yeah, well, maybe that's what they renamed Future Earth. We don't know.
We never know. But yeah, I love Showa era Mechagodzilla. He's probably my favorite iteration of Mechagodzilla. Don't get me wrong, the later versions of Mechagodzilla are pretty cool. Like Mechagodzilla 2 is cool. I like Kuryu, aka Mechagodzilla 3. He's also cool. But in my opinion, nothing beats the original. What about you guys? How do you feel about this version of Mechagodzilla?
He's the best. I like his design. It's very classic, very nice, very clean. He doesn't look like some weird dinosaur skeleton like in the Monsterverse. Like, it's very classic. Here's a robot. We made him out of cardboard. So a lot of sharp angles. I mean, they didn't make him out of cardboard, but you could make him out of cardboard, I guess. But I guess what I mean by that is just like sharp angles, very geometrical. So I really like that. I liked his sound design too. It's very similar to Godzilla, but very distinct, very different. Like when you're watching the movie when he shows up as pretend Godzilla. Even though I knew the concept of the movie and everything, but like when I was watching, I was like, that doesn't sound right. I don't think that's Godzilla. So I like the fact that they like made a tell. Also, I noticed his like dorsal fins were shinier. Mecha G in disguise and regular Godzilla, their dorsal fins were shinier, and I don't know if that was just because of this movie or like they started to like play around with the design of the colors of the dorsal fins, but I thought that was neat too. So overall, he's very cool. I wish we got more than just 2 Showa era Mechagodzillas, but that's okay.
I agree. I also wish we could have gotten more Showa era Mechagodzilla appearances, but that's interesting. I never noticed the dorsal plates on fake Godzilla being shinier because you could always tell it wasn't the real Godzilla because of the roar, but still, that's interesting. I never noticed that.
Yeah, like they just looked silver-y, more silver. Yeah, they just looked more silver. So, like, I don't know if it was just watching it on a nice television compared to like streaming it or like what was up, but just something that caught my eye.
Interesting. Yeah, I also didn't notice anything, so I don't know. Could be. But I guess to give my quick thoughts real quick, I mean, it's Mechagodzilla. You can't go wrong with Mechagodzilla. I mean, I guess depending on who you ask, you can, because some people don't like the legendary one, but I like him, okay? He's not my favorite, but he's cool. I like the Mechagodzilla design from the 90s, I believe, the most. I don't remember which era that would be. Would that be Millennium, perhaps? I don't know.
I think it's Millennium.
Well, because if you're referring to the 90s, that would still be the Heisei era. Millennium didn't begin
Oh,
till the 2000s. But are you referring to
makes sense.
Mechagodzilla 2 or are you referring to Kuryu? Which would be
I'm not
Mechagodzilla
sure.
3. Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
Kuryu, I would say Kuryu has more dominant dorsal plates. Like his dorsal plates actually look like classic Godzilla. While like the Showa era Mechagodzilla, I don't even think he has any dorsal plates. And like Mechagodzilla 2s are like very small. So
I just remember it was one of the movies where it's that one character who's like a telepath or something.
Oh, that would be the Heisei era then.
Okay,
because that's
yeah.
you're referring to Miki. So yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. Then yeah, in the Heisei.
So you're a Mechagodzilla 2 fan.
Yeah.
What's up?
Where does Godzilla against Mechagodzilla sit in the timeline?
So that one is in the Millennium era.
Oh, okay.
But okay, because I was gonna say, because if you're going like in the timeline though, technically it's canon to the 1954 film, but it's in the Millennium era.
Okay. So okay. I got confused when you're like, it's telepath people. Okay. Never.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, there's we'll save that for the Heisei era. Yeah.
So, Udi, you like which design?
Mechagodzilla 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
He's my favorite, I think. I mean, I think just in general, I think that might just be my favorite era in general, visually, of at least like Goji and Mechagodzilla. I don't know what. At least I don't think I know what any of the other kaiju looked like during that era, so I can't speak on them. But at least for Goji and Mechagodzilla, I think that's my favorite era. But I mean, like the original Mechagodzilla is still cool. I think the Rainbow Atomic Breath is still really cool, and I like how he has like all of his fingers and toes are like missiles and stuff. I always like mech things like that, where like every single part of it is useful in some way. I mean, it makes sense. It's not a living being. It doesn't need solid feet and hands, so I might as well make every part of it usable in some way. And it's cool, like the head spins and everything, which leads to like one of the coolest moments in the movie. That being like the showdown between King Caesar and Goji, and Mechagodzilla fighting Moth. I like that he has like thrusters in his feet and flies around kind of like Iron Man. So I don't know. He's very cool. He's definitely one of my favorite kaiju and definitely one of my favorite Godzilla characters. Definitely a very good villain, very formidable. It'll probably be one of my favorite characters of the Showa era for sure. I mean, probably throughout, to be honest, but yeah, definitely one of the best characters I would say in the Showa era so far. And I'm looking forward to seeing him again.
I agree. I do like the fact that like his fingers are like missiles and he has like the rocket power, and his fight mechanics, his like abilities are like interesting too and pretty unique compared to all the other kaijus that we've seen, because all of the other ones have been aliens or just monsters, so they don't really get the mecha stuff. So I'm glad they like decided let's do a robot without doing like a robot. I guess we have Jet Jaguar, but he didn't really do anything in that movie, so it's cool.
Yeah, all Jet Jaguar did was get his booty beat. He
Yeah.
didn't really do too much.
He didn't
No,
really
he did
do
not.
anything except be awesome. I'm just kidding.
I mean, he's cool. I like him.
He did get beat up a lot in that movie. But he has his own theme song. Come on, Mechagodzilla doesn't have his own theme song. Caesar
well,
has
he
his own theme
should.
song.
I mean, he probably does. He has a theme, probably. I can't think of it, but I'm sure they took. What if they took Godzilla's main theme and then just like EDM'd it?
Remixed it, give it to Mechagodzilla. There you go.
Yeah.
Well, if
Give it to
anything,
Skrillex.
I mean, it's kind of silly, but like the music that plays during his like full reveal, I guess you could consider that his theme. But it's kind of silly because it's like trumpets or whatever,
Yeah.
like 70s music.
Yeah. It definitely feels very 70s this time around.
It is kind of a shame though, because even King Caesar technically has a theme, but not freaking Mechagodzilla. What the heck?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like-
Like King Caesar has a theme.
I'm trying to recall the music. Like, I'm looking through my notes as well to see if I wrote anything down. And I just, like, wrote down that, like, there are several parts where there's just no music at all. Did you guys notice that when you guys were watching, or?
Yeah, I think I noticed there are a couple scenes where it was just like silent, no music.
Yeah, I noticed as well. Like I always kind of like when there's kind of a break in silence or kind of like a break in the music and it's just silent, but
Mm-hmm.
it felt a little odd here. It almost felt like, to me at least in some parts, it felt a little unintentional.
Yeah.
Or maybe just like they didn't think about it as much. I don't know.
I wonder if it was a factor that they didn't have, like, money to do it, or they didn't want to use stock. Because I have a feeling they weren't trying to be John Wick, because they remove music very specifically in, like, John Wick and stuff. That I don't know if movies in the 70s were, like, doing that.
I'm sure somewhere, but probably not this one.
Yeah, this one doesn't quite seem on the same level.
Yeah, I mean they're in their own like ballpark, but and you know, more power to them. Like they had a good thing going and they knew what they were doing, but yeah, I don't quite think. I mean, mainly I think, and just to give them like a little bit of like a break. Like I think it's just because they were expected to turn these around so quickly. I think maybe just part of it was just they didn't have enough time and budget to really sit and plan, you know. So I'll give them credit, like for what they accomplished and the short amount of time that they kind of had for everything they had to do, it's pretty impressive. But yeah, definitely leads to like things like this, or like how you brought up like the day to night or whatever, being, not the greatest.
Yeah. I mean, for the day tonight, they're on a boat. So, like, I don't know how well they could film on a boat at night. But, like, I don't know. I feel like they could have. Yeah, at night. Another SpongeBob reference. That's two.
Is SpongeBob going to become the new Batman versus Superman?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Possible. So, like, they could have disguised it a little better, but it's fine. But I do want to know how long they took, like, what the production time for this movie is.
It was 3 years. No, just kidding. I don't know.
I don't think that was it.
No, I know. It was a joke.
What I was going to say, though, I feel like a lot of the Showa era Godzilla movies probably didn't have too long of production periods.
Yeah, some of them are really quick.
Yeah, you can tell.
Yeah. A lot of reusing stock footage.
Aren't some of them only like a year apart?
Yeah.
Pretty sure,
I mean, I guess like they had several directors working at a certain point, but like still. And while we're researching, wasn't the guy who played the researcher, he played other characters in like other Goji movies before, right? The guy who played like the scientist, professor, researcher guy in this one.
Well, because you got two returning actors from previous Godzilla movies. Because you got the guy that played Dr. Serizawa, he appears at one point, and then you also got Akira Takarada, who's been in a lot of Showa era Godzilla movies.
Was the guy who played Dr. Serizawa the professor?
Oh, geez. I think he was, because, like, Akira Takarada played the uncle, because remember that one guy was like, because he was messing with that girl, because he was like, oh, he's my uncle, or whatever, and she was like, why didn't you just tell me you were related, or something like that. Like, that's Akira Takarada, who's playing the uncle, and then I don't remember exactly who Dr. Serizawa plays.
On the Wikipedia pages, there's two professors. So, Hiroshi Kozumi was in Godzilla Raids Again, so he's been around, and then Akira Hirako Harata was in King Kong vs. Godzilla, the Mysterians, Terror of Mechagodzilla, Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla.
I just looked it up, and Akiko Hirata is the guy who played Dr. Serizawa in the original, and that is the professor. He was a Professor Irito Miyajima.
Okay, I did not realize that was Dr. Serizawa. He doesn't have his eye patch.
No, he doesn't.
I forgot about that.
I just realized, though, because I said that Akira Takarada was in this movie, but I just realized he wasn't listed in the cast when I read off the cast list, so maybe he's not in this movie, and I'm mistaking him for someone else.
Perhaps you are.
Yeah, because I mean, let me double check.
I'm going to give up researching to see how long it took them to make this movie, because I'm not finding anything. So, if anyone knows, please let us know. This is live research for all the listeners here. This is what we do.
Live research with the Atomic Colors podcast. One other person, I suppose, one other crew member that has appeared before, but technically we have never seen, at least as far as I know, is the director. It's Jun Fukuda, and he did Godzilla vs. Megalon, Godzilla vs. Gigan, Son of Godzilla, and Ebra.
Yeah, he's the beach movies.
Mm-hmm.
Which I do enjoy.
Sorry,
I just want to say that I believe I was wrong. I don't think Akira Takarada is in this movie. I'm mistaking someone else for him. But I think the guy, the other like uncle guy, I think he was from Mothra versus Godzilla, actually. Or maybe he was in the Mothra movie. I don't know. I'd have I don't remember.
I'm sure they're all in everything. This is like a more complicated MCU, where it's like MCU has one timeline, and this is with all the same actors, and this is we got 50 timelines with all the same actors because they show up later in the other eras too.
Oh God, that's not going to get confusing at all.
Not at all. No, it's not confusing.
But two quick things. I will just say that the artwork / posters for this movie goes so hard. God, there's so much cool artwork. I mean, I think just in general with Godzilla movies, but like, this one's so good. And also Anguirus. We didn't talk about Anguirus. He made a short cameo in this one where he just appeared and then attacked and then got defeated.
Oh yeah, he's in this, and we get the return of blood too.
Oh yeah, gore.
What happens to Anguirus is pretty brutal.
Anguirus and Goji.
And Anguirus shows up and then just dies right away. Well, he doesn't die, but yeah, no, he gets defeated.
Wanders off.
Yeah,
he's okay.
He wanders off, but yeah, if you're an Anguirus fan, close your eyes during that scene because yeah, it's not good.
That part where Godzilla flushed him down the toilet because he was dead.
I will say, like, Anguirus almost got like he pretty much got the famous King Kong finishing move, you know, where they unhinge your mouth to try to break your jaw or whatever. It's like King Kong's signature move from like the 33 film and the Peter Jackson remake. So
can you imagine if Goji or Mechagodzilla had done what Godzilla does to Mechagodzilla at the end, but to Anguirus?
That'd be yikes.
Not great.
First rated R Godzilla
Anguirus
film.
fans really look away at that point.
I feel like at this point I'm a little bit of an Anguirus fan. He's fun. I like Anguirus.
Anguirus too, yeah.
He's a cool dude.
He is. He doesn't get enough appreciation or screen time, but he's cool.
Oh, yeah. Trust me, the Godzilla fan base, that's like the popular opinion among the Godzilla fan base is like Anguirus needs more recognition.
He does.
Do you like his angry eyes like I do, Udi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just a little angry guy.
He's just a little angry boy. Yeah.
He stomp and he hit and he bite.
Yeah. He protect, he attack.
He protect, he attack, he... I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to think of a third word.
Attacks.
Well, he protect, he attack, and then... I don't know.
I was going to say, but most important,
Bites?
because he like rolls up into a ball, or he can at least.
Oh, yeah. He protect, he attack, he armadillo.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, but you know, I'm gonna just roll with it. Like he does. I'll shut up.
I was gonna say, in the English dub, in the English dub of Godzilla Final Wars, they do refer to Anguirus as an armadillo at one point because one of the lines is "Damn that armadillo." So.
Okay, that's cool.
I feel like maybe they tried to think of a different animal, like, oh, what would Anguirus be? And they couldn't think of it. They're like, he's just an armadillo. Let's just say he's an armadillo. A mutated armadillo. Why not?
As I say, it works for me. Oh, and I just want to say really quick clarification. I mistook Hiroshi Koizumi as Akira Takarada for some reason. I don't know why I did that, but yes, he was the one that's been in Godzilla Raids Again and a couple other Godzilla movies, including this one.
Nice. Okay. So you just like flip-flop people basically, or mistook him for the other guy.
I mistook him for Akira Takarada. He is not Akira Takarada.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
This is a quick hypothetical, and then we can move on. But how would you guys feel if they made a movie where like they showed the beginning, like the origins, quote unquote, of all these kaiju, and it was just like there was like a lizard and a little armadillo and a moth, just like within range of like the nuclear bomb testing, and then you just see them mutate, and then that's like the start of a Godzilla movie.
Well, that would be interesting. Well, because like we know what Godzilla's origin is, but we don't know what any of the other origins of these other monsters are. Like, where does Mothra come from? She's just there one day. You know? I mean, maybe
that is true.
it's been a while since I've watched the original Mothra movie, but maybe there's an explanation in there, but I don't remember. So yeah, like where do all these monsters come from? And I think because Anguirus' first appearance being in Godzilla Raids Again, I think they do try to use the same origin for him as they do Godzilla, because I think in that movie they explain that they're monsters that rose up from all the nuclear testing, because I think they refer to Anguirus as like an ankylosaur in that movie.
Interesting.
And like Godzilla was like an ancient dinosaur or whatever, like T-Rex or something. So
with like the premise of like a little moth and a little armadillo and a little lizard. You know when there's cartoon series and then they're like, well, we've used all of the adult like character, like SpongeBob is technically an adult. They're all adults in SpongeBob. Here you go, third SpongeBob reference. They do everything they possibly can with that, and then they're like, you know what? Let's make them babies and send them to summer camp. Like, what if they did that with like a little moth and like a little lizard and a little armadillo, like pre-mutation, like Saturday morning cartoon.
So what you're asking for is Godzilla babies, like the Muppet babies.
I guess so.
Transformers
I don't know. That's
1.
just what popped in my head.
Transformers 1. Except they're technically not babies in that movie.
They're not baby. Like, well, that's the name of the new movie that's coming out this year, right?
Yeah, but they're not babies in that movie.
No, they're not babies, but they're like, it's before they can transform, so they're like
Yeah.
in their protoforms.
Wait, how does that work? They're Transformers.
No,
They're not Transformers yet. They gotta earn the name Transformers.
Okay. Sure.
They're just, yeah, I don't know.
I just want to say that did anyone else think Godzilla's first appearance in this movie was kind of random, because he just appears like underneath some warehouse buildings? What was he just waiting? Was he just lying there waiting for Mechagodzilla to show up? Like, where did he come from?
Did he know?
Does he know? Well, because they say Anguirus called for Godzilla's help. So, like, did Godzilla answer Anguirus' call and was like, all right, I'm going to hide underneath these warehouse buildings and just wait for Mechagodzilla to show up?
Well, it's just like Monarch, where he's just laying in the desert, and then he just comes up. It's like, why were you laying there, Goji? How did you get here? You're like inland in the desert, but you're a sea creature.
Exactly.
And they built buildings over him. He was there the whole time.
Yeah, he was there the whole time, and then they just built buildings or something. Yeah.
They're like, well, he's taking a nap. I guess if he doesn't move, we'll just keep building.
We'll just build it around him.
Yeah. But it's also like, once again, in Mothra versus Godzilla, why was he underneath that dry lake bed that entire time? You know, it's just,
again, he's just taking a nap.
I guess. Yeah. What if Godzilla just likes to burrow underground to take naps?
I mean, I would say, based on all of the things we've watched, there's evidence to say yes to that, especially with the new MonsterVerse one where he just sleeps in the Coliseum.
Yeah.
He's a cat.
There you go, Udi. That's why he was in the Egyptian desert. He was taking a nap.
I'll accept this. He's a giant atomic cat. A scaly cat, but a cat nonetheless.
There you go.
Scaly?
I mean, he kind of is, but some versions of Godzilla, like the Heisei version and then the Final Wars version, do look like cats. Like, his face just looks like a cat's face. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's why that Goji is the best Goji, because he has cat ears.
Well, I'm not going to say that Heisei Goji is the best Goji because he has cat ears, but I do agree. Heisei Goji is the best.
Well, that's not
Goji
the
design.
only reason, but he is.
He's the best Goji design. I agree with you.
I don't know what he looks like, so I cannot comment. So that's kind of what our thoughts on Mechagodzilla are, and a bunch of other stuff. Hopefully that's enjoyable to listen to. But to go back a bit to Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, the film and the story. We're back to aliens and prophecies, a common theme that adds to that like sameness that was mentioned earlier to this film. Do you think like the setup of the prophecy was convincing and how like the characters portrayed their like parts in the prophecy, or do you just think they just came up with it because they needed something?
I mean, I definitely feel like it was more along the lines of let's just make something up because we need something to help move the story forward. But like it's kind of hard to say, oh, like did I find the prophecy convincing, because like like I've said before, just the Showa era, like the world is absurd. You got these giant fire breathing lizards, giant moths, giant like literal lion creatures that are supposedly there to protect the royal family. Like it's all absurd. So if like I'm living in that universe and I hear this crazy prophecy about the end of the world, it's really like in the context of that universe, it's really not that far fetched. So I would say in the context of this movie, sure, it's convincing because it makes sense for the crazy world that the ape aliens, you know? So it makes sense for the crazy world that that these characters are in.
That's fair. I mean, it is quite ridiculous. We're getting into even more ridiculousness. So that's totally fair. I thought that it was interesting that they tried to go with a prophecy, but like as you said, it's already silly and stuff, so to have a not so thought out prophecy necessarily, like at least in my opinion, I don't think it was that thought out because there's like so many things going on and like why do they need the statue? And like this guy is trying to take the statue, but he's not a bad guy. He's the international police. And like the fact that like they had to take all of these characters and then somehow make sure like the center point of the prophecy of King Caesar coming to help save the day, like they could have just made it Godzilla. Like I don't know why they had to include King Caesar, but I mean it was entertaining to watch, so that's something, I guess.
Yeah, King Caesar kind of reminded me of Shimu from the New Empire because it's kind of like a similar thing where, I mean, at least for me, I was like, oh, okay, it's Goji and then you have Mechagodzilla. It's like, okay, they're gonna fight, obviously, whatever. And I mean, I guess the prophecy was the thing, but I don't know. I kind of didn't. I kind of forgot about King Caesar a little bit, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. And then he emerged, and I was like, oh, there he is. But yeah, I feel like in terms of like aliens and prophecies, uh, I'm just gonna go and say that I don't really feel that any of the prophecies are really convincing in any of these, at least so far. But I mean, it's I just take it for what it is. It's like, oh, we need a reason for why this kaiju exists. It's now threatening peace on Earth, and Goji needs a new enemy to fight. So here we go, and then it's just alien, some sort of alien, whether it be cockroach or ape or who knows what. Oh no, here they come with a kaiju. Oh no, here comes Goji, and then they battle it out, and then Goji wins and walks off into the sunset, and then the movie's over. So, and I like that's enjoyable. Like I like these movies. I've enjoyed them a lot more since we started. But I mean, yeah, like I feel like they're not convincing to me just because the movies are just too silly. So and I know it's just kind of set up so that we have a movie. So it is what it is. It's the necessary evil, I guess you could say. At least in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess that's fair to say because they are just using it for setup and everything that like happens in the film. But additional question, how do you think they could have done it differently, I guess? So we're like saying that the prophecy isn't necessarily convincing because the movie's kind of silly and whatnot and everything. that you mentioned, but like, is there a better way to do it?
Just get rid of the whole prophecy thing to begin with. Like, have Mechagodzilla just show up disguised as Godzilla. People think Godzilla's rampaging again. Then have the real Godzilla show up. Have Mechagodzilla defeat like the real Godzilla, and it's like, oh no, he needs some help. What are we gonna do? Oh, the royal family. There's a guardian monster that can help. That can help save the day. And then the lady goes to sing the King Caesar song. King Caesar wakes up, and they both fight Mechagodzilla, and then they defeat him. Like that could be another way to do it without having to use the prophecy. But then again, I didn't mind the prophecy too much because like I'm used to these movies. I'm used to silly setups like that. But yeah, that's one way you could have done it without having the whole prophecy plot line in there.
Yeah, I think that would have been honestly the only way that I could see that working out better. I kind of thought that's what they were gonna do initially, especially with like the fake Godzilla thing. But then they kind of just got rid of that plot point or that idea like almost immediately. So yeah, but yeah, I think that would be probably the most easy way to go about it in going in a different direction.
I was gonna say that we just get rid of King Caesar altogether, but I guess you could still include him, but just frame it differently.
I do like the idea of just not having King Caesar in the movie at all, because like just having it be a one-on-one fight between Godzilla and Mechagodzilla, I think for me personally would work a lot better. Plus, like, I don't know how many King Caesar fans are out there, so I apologize to all you King Caesar stands, but I'm not that big of a fan of King Caesar. Like, he never really left that much of an impression on me in this movie, and like I never found his design to be that interesting. So yeah, I would have been fine with no King Caesar personally.
King Caesar more so than like most of the Showa era kaiju so far looks like a Power Rangers villain or like an enemy that the Power Rangers would fight.
It does actually.
Yeah, like it feels like someone walked off the Power Rangers set and accidentally wandered onto the Godzilla set, and they're like, "Oh shoot! Well, just stay. We need someone. So just hide in that cave. We'll dig you out."
Interesting. I did not watch Power Rangers, so I don't know much about Power Rangers. I did watch that one movie from like 2016, and I thought it was like okay-ish. But anyways, are like Power Ranger villains like scary looking? Because personally, I did not really like King Caesar's design. I thought he was kind of creepy, like some kind of mutated dog. So, is that like normal for Power Rangers?
I would say I'm not like, I don't have like the most knowledge on the Power Rangers, but I watched a good bit of Power Rangers growing up, and I would say that the biggest thing is like they're kind of, and I don't mean this as a criticism, but they're just kind of overly designed. Like they just have a lot going on. So, because like King Caesar has a lot going on, but it's like kind of similar coloring, So there's not a lot of like craziness. It's just like I guess it's very detailed. I guess that's another way to put it. He has a lot of like texture, and there's a lot of stuff going on, and I feel like a lot of like Rita, she doesn't have like a super. I mean, she's not an example of what I mean, but like just an iconic Power Rangers villain like Rita. Her costume's pretty simple. It's just like a kind of a gown type thing with like a headpiece, but like there's texture to it, and it's like similar colors and whatever. And then you have like what's the name of the red guy with like the chrome? It starts with a Z.
Zod?
No, Zod is Superman. Wait, well, is it Zod, Dan? What's the Power Rangers villain that's like red with chrome?
Oh, I don't know. I'm going to be honest. I don't really watch that much Power Rangers.
Never mind.
Like I know a little bit. The only Power Rangers show I watched was Dino Thunder as a kid, and that was it.
I love that one.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, are you referring to who Bryan Cranston played in the 2017 movie?
No, because that was their like leader. I was talking about villains.
Oh, you're talking about villains. Okay, yeah. No, I don't know.
Oh, it's Lord Zed. That's what it is.
Oh, Lord Zed. Okay.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
I was gonna say the only Power Rangers villain that sticks out to me is the one from the first live action movie because he says a really funny joke. So
Isn't not Lord Zed in that one?
I don't know. I honestly don't remember.
Oh, well, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess looking at these now, like Rita, I don't know. I kind of stand by what I said about Rita's costume. But basically, like, they're simple but like detailed, I guess, and that's kind of how I feel like King Caesar was. I mean, he had a bit more going on because he's a bit more animalistic than the Power Rangers ones tend to be.
Did you like the design of King Caesar?
I thought he was fine. I definitely feel like he felt the most out of place in regards to like all the Toho monsters so far.
Yeah, I kind of feel that too.
Yeah, well, like I said, so that's why I kind of feel like he looks more like a Power Rangers villain than like a Toho Godzilla villain, because and especially like his movement, and I mean, I appreciate that they tried something new, because he was very animalistic. He was just like kind of like Tasmanian Devil-y in a way, but yeah, I don't know, just pretty different.
Yeah, it is pretty different, and I wonder if that's because like he was a statue and he's supposed to be like, I don't know, this like Mushu from Mulan, like is the only comparison I have type character. So maybe that's why they went a different route. Who knows?
Perhaps.
I guess the creators know. Dan, did you like the design of King Caesar?
I wouldn't say I hated it, but like I'm not that big of a fan of it either. Like I feel like there's much cooler designed monsters in the Toho movies. But I will say that I think King Caesar could benefit from a redesign to make him look a little cooler, because like I at least got the impression that he's very much inspired from like a lion. Like I feel like they are trying to do like a lion kaiju, maybe with a little bit of like you were saying, like a Chinese dragon. So maybe if they could do something like kind of give him a bit of a redesign, make him look cooler, then I might grow to like him a little more. But yeah, his design in this movie, and then like he appears again in like one other like future movie, like with pretty much the same design. I just don't think that his design is that interesting to me personally. But like I said, I don't hate it either.
So I guess then we're all kind of like meh on his design. Is that an accurate statement?
I wouldn't say just on King Caesar in general. It sounds like we're all meh.
I do have a question. Does King Caesar appear in other movies?
He appears in one other movie after this.
Dang, just one other one. He's only in 2.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Interesting. I don't know, King Caesar fans. Maybe that means something.
Yeah, if there's a mega fan out there, sorry we're like dissing your character.
But hey, man, if you're a big King Caesar fan, more power to you. I'm glad he has some fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree though. Like, even though I was ragging on him and everything, but it's nice that people can appreciate even the little guys like King Caesar.
Speaking of King Caesar, this is the second King Caesar we've talked about this year, because wasn't the villain in the Planet of the Apes movie also King Caesar?
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, I don't remember his actual name, but that's basically what like his premise, right? Was a king named Caesar.
Yeah, that was.
But here's a question. Who would win, King Caesar from this movie, King Caesar from Planet of the Apes, or Julius Caesar? Although not a king.
Well, I mean, King Caesar has the size advantage here. He could just step on everyone.
We'll just even them out, size-wise.
Although the actual Julius Caesar probably has the entire Roman army at his back, and they probably have like shields and spears so they could poke Caesar's toes.
Yeah, but he does have like 37 knives in his back.
That is true. He does have Brutus on his team, and Brutus, well, we all know what happens there, so.
Actually, my pick is King Julian. from Madagascar. He's the one who's going to win.
I like to move it, move. He'll just get everyone to
Yeah.
dance.
And then he'll lead them off a cliff, and then he'll survive, and they'll all perish.
No, King Julian would win because he has Mort on his team, and Mort would
Oh,
destroy
yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. You know, I feel like we've had this conversation before.
This just means that we got to review the Madagascar movies one day.
Could you argue that they're like kaiju?
No, unfortunately, none of them are big enough.
Okay. Yeah, so we've talked a lot about Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. We had a small technical issue. Sorry for my audio quality change. But anyways, did we have any additional thoughts we wanted to share about this movie or wanted to talk about anything specific? Anything of that nature?
Yeah. Actually, I forgot about this when we were talking earlier, but one tiny aspect in this movie that I noticed, or I felt like it kind of improved compared to the other ones we've watched recently, is I felt like the fight sequences were a bit better in this one than like the last few ones that we've watched, like between the humans, I mean. In like, I think also it didn't help, like, yeah, an all monsters attack. I think it didn't help that it was like a kids movie or whatever, but like the little bit of fighting in that one, and then like the one we watched after that, like basically all the fighting recently has been kind of bad, and just like the punches felt weightless, and like it just felt like people were just doing weird crazy movements for the sake of doing it. There's no like real, like, I don't know, it didn't feel choreographed at all. It just felt like they're like, all right, you guys have to fight, and then the fight has to end like this, and you have to end up like with this, and then you have to be like concussed or something. I don't know. And I'm not gonna go and say that this was like a million times better, but I do feel like it was a bit of an improvement at least. But it's just kind of funny because like more so this one than any of the other ones that we watched recently, it kind of just reminded me, and I'm not saying we could literally make this, because obviously, you know, there's a lot of, you know, miniature sets and cool costume design, everything like that. But friend of the podcast, Mike, he's been on here before. He and I and a few other friends have made little short movies and whatnot before. And this movie kind of felt like something that we could have done, kind of, at least spiritually, just because, like, I feel like the effects that they did, like the special effects for the transition from dead human to dead ape, like I feel like that could have been something that Mike could do. And then like the fight choreography felt similar to something that we would have done in the thing, which, you know, I always try to push us to try to actually choreograph at least a little bit or something, and there were some scenes in some of the things that they did that had some choreography and whatever. I'm not discrediting that, but yeah, I just felt like some of the fighting here reminded me of like things that like would have ended up in a movie that we made or whatever. But yeah, I just thought, and it was something that I picked up on, and I just thought it was kind of funny because I was like, huh, that's not something I expected to get better randomly, but a little bit better. I don't know if they did choreograph anything, but yeah, just something I noticed. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, but yeah, that was just one last thing I forgot to talk about earlier that I wanted to mention.
Yeah, that's interesting. Personally, I didn't notice any like differences in the fight choreography, like if it got worse or better, but it's interesting that you kind of could see how you could have done it, like you and your friends, and based off like your experience from doing that and seeing it here and like comparing the two, I guess. That that's neat. That's one thing I like about films, and having the knowledge on how films are made, because you can like look at it and be like, oh, okay, I know this about it, or I've tried this, and I wonder if they're doing the same thing. So that's really really cool.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a fun little, like I said, like I'm definitely not saying we could make something on that level, but it reminded me of like some of the stuff that we would make and be like, oh, this stuff feels like a very like homemade kind of feel. Obviously more elevated because they had film cameras and everything like that. But yeah, a lot of like the choreography and stuff like that, just silly goofy stuff.
Well, like in terms of the fight choreography, like I'm much in line with you, Miranda. Like I didn't really notice too much either, whether like, because I don't know, I feel like a lot of the fights in the Showa era are just kind of the same. I mean, there's only so much you can do with big bulky rubber suits, so like these fights in here didn't feel any less different or better or worse than fights in previous Showa era films, but yeah, that's all I really have to say on that. And before we move on, I just have one fun fact to share. This movie is also known as Godzilla versus the Cosmic Monster in some other countries. So just thought I would share that.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, not to be confused with Space Godzilla, right? They're different, right?
Yeah, I mean, Space Godzilla is Space Godzilla, so.
Yeah, well, cosmic is like space.
Yeah, but Space Godzilla wasn't invented at this point, so we're good.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Before we move on, I do just want to clarify one quick thing. I definitely, when I was saying about like the fight sequences just a little bit ago, I only meant the human ones. I didn't mean anything about the kaiju ones. Just to be clear.
Oh,
because
about the giant monster fights.
No, I only meant the human ones.
I don't even really remember a lot of the human fights. The only one I really remember is the one from Mothra versus Godzilla. That's because that dude like punches the guy so much that he starts bleeding. So
yeah,
that sticks out to me.
I mean, there's the fight scene on the boat with the Interpol guy, and like that's the main fight human fight scene. Well, yeah, he's a human.
Yeah.
Human fight scene that like sticks out of my brain, but like
yeah, that's the main one that I like. I was studying while I was watching. I was like, yes, improved technique. I see, very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add one more thing that I forgot to mention while we were talking about Mechagodzilla. I love it when he spins his head around and creates that shield. It's such a deliciously cheesy, like, move or whatever. I love it, man.
Yeah, because obviously that's how it works. Yeah. I mean, the fight stuff, both for the kaijus and for the humans, they're both interesting. I feel like they're trying new things, and clearly we're seeing that. That's always cool when you try new things. You should try new things. But if we have nothing else to say about Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, I'm gonna go into the lizard fact of the day. Today's lizard is the veiled chameleon. It is native to Saudi Arabia and Yemen. They live high up in trees or really low to the ground in bushes and shrubs. They inhabit high, dry, mountainous regions, forests, and valleys with elevations almost to 3,000 feet high. And the body length can reach between 17 to 24 inches from head to tail.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's the lizard of the day. I guess it's time for ratings. Dan, what would you give this movie out of 5 stars?
All right. So once again, to summarize, I do feel like this is one of the better Showa era movies, mainly because like I just feel like it's classic. It's a classic Godzilla villain, and yeah, the plot is stupid, and like the ape aliens are kind of silly, and like it has stupid, silly moments like Godzilla turning into a magnet and whatnot. But I'm willing to look past all of that because I really do love Showa era Mechagodzilla. I think he's a great villain, and I would probably watch this over a majority of other Showa era movies. So I'm gonna give this 3 stars. I had a lot of fun watching it, so 3 stars.
And Udi, what would you give this movie out of 5 stars?
Oof. This was a rough one in terms of deciding what to rate it, because like I said, I mean, it was a little disappointing. I think just because again, I was excited because I was like, oh, Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, woo! And it's not bad, and it has, like I said, it has some shots that I thought were pretty fun, and has pretty good fight sequences overall. I really like the part where King Caesar and Godzilla, they square up against Mechagodzilla, and he's in the middle, and then you can see him pose to fight, and then his head turns around and he just blasts them both. Like, that's so cool. That's such a great like little shot and moment. And overall, I mean, the alien stuff is I would say it's probably better than some of the other ones, but it's not. I don't know. It's not like amazing either. It's fine. It's serviceable. And overall, I wouldn't say that any other part of the movie really stuck out to me. And I mean, again, like I try not to judge the human stuff that much in this one or in these movies, just because it's not why we watch these movies. Like, if it's cool or it's good, cool, but it's not why we watch these movies. But yeah, I don't know. Outside of like that one moment in the fight, or like I guess like I liked his strafing runs too. Like, that was kind of cool. I don't know. This one, I think maybe I was just too hyped, and so it didn't live up to my hype. But I'm gonna go with a 2.5. It's not bad. It's fine. And maybe if I rewatch this some other day, I'll feel differently. But for now, the first viewing, I'm gonna give it a 2.5 out of 5. What about you, Miranda?
Yeah, I get that. A 2.5. Especially if you were like expecting like greatness and then got a little overhyped. So I totally get that score. For my score, I'm giving it a 3.5. Just because it's fun. It's ridiculous. It's got Mecha G in it and rainbow laser eyes, and I mean, it's Mechagodzilla's first appearance. He's great, and I'm excited to see him again. So the Atomic Lizard's average score for Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla is a 3. So we have a 3 out of 5. Thank you so much for joining us and listening to our conversation about Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. If you're interested in hearing more, check out our previous episodes, and as always, you can find us on Instagram at Atomic Lizards Pod and on Letterboxd at Atomic_Lizards.